Welcome! In this video, I want to share with you how I like to knit my ends in as I'm working with projects that have a lot of stripes or changing of yarns. We're starting here looking at an area of, this is the wrong side of a project, my panorama scarf, where I have previously knitted my ends in when I was doing these little stripe sections here. And now I'm ready to change colors again. And so I'm going to use this time where I'm changing colors to demonstrate how I like to knit in my ends. This can be especially helpful for projects with a lot of changing yarns on the edges of the work, or even at the beginning of a round. And it can save you a lot of time down the road at the end of your project when you just want to be done and be wearing it and you have to weave in a gazillion ends. So what we're going to do, our next color is this natural right here. And we're going to be knitting our first stitch like we normally would. In this project, my first stitch is actually a knit front and back. So I'm going to do half of it and pause. If you're just starting with a regular knit stitch, you would complete that knit stitch just normal with your, oops, I need to be using my other yarn. You would just complete that stitch like normal. But I'm pausing here because on my knit into the back of this increase, I'm actually going to do my first weave. So I'm going to be using the old color to weave in first, and then we're going to finish our, finish this row and come back. And then we're going to weave in the end that we joined from the new color. So first we'll be working with the old color. So as I've shown here, I'm in the stitch and I'm pausing. So if you don't have an increase at the beginning of your work like I do, you would be in your second stitch now, having made one normal stitch here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pause and pinch this with our left hand. And then we're looking for our end in our old color. So here it is. And I'm going to drape it over my new working yarn over the top of it. And then I'm actually using my middle and ring fingers on my left hand to kind of hold it out of the way so that I can finish this stitch fine. Do you see how it's draped over right there? So now I'm going to finish this knit through the back loop. And everything is really loose and funky, so I'm going to go into my third stitch now and pause, and I'm just going to tug all of the different ends up so they're a little more secure. Okay, so here is this dark burnt orange. That's our old end. We've got our new working yarn, and then we have our new tail, which is out of the way now. We're not going to be dealing with this till we finish this row all the way across and come back. So we're in our third stitch now. We've paused. We're doing the same exact thing again. We're lifting the old tail over the top of our working yarn. You can see how it's draped over, and then completing the stitch in our new yarn. So we go in, pause, and it's very much like a twisting. If anyone has ever done twined knitting, this might feel a little familiar. So we go in, pause, and then we drape the old tail over the working yarn and finish the stitch. And this is a cotton yarn, so I'm actually going to do this for quite a few stitches. If you had a really tacky, catchy, sticky yarn that stuck to itself and wasn't going to work out at all, like work its way back out, then you wouldn't have to go as far. But as this is it's a cotton alpaca blend with that cotton content, I'm just going to be a little extra secure here. We'll call this good here. So if we look at the wrong side now, we have this nice little kind of twined look, which is where those two yarns wrapped around each other as we were going. And so now I can cut this end pretty close, like I would probably cut it about right here, and continue finishing my row in my new color. And then I'll come back and we will do the same thing then again with the end that we just joined of our new color. So hold tight. Okay, I'm back. I have knit my first and second row. So I finished where we wove in our end. I finished this row. I came back on the wrong side row, and I'm ready to now weave in the other end we created when we changed colors, the end of our new yarn. So if you've got a loosey-goosey edge stitch here because of this not being secure yet, you just tug that back into place. And we're going to get ready here to weave in our second end. If you were doing something in the round, you would be able to knit this end in on the subsequent round and not have to wait two, because your yarn is right back there when you get around to the end. And when you're working back and forth, you have to actually complete a whole row and then another row to arrive back where your end is waiting for you. So just remember, we aren't going to be doing anything with the edge stitch. We want to save our weaving for stitches that are one stitch inside the edge and then beyond. So I've made my first stitch. Now I have an increase here, so I'm going to knit into the back of this same stitch. If you have flat work where there's no shaping right here in this first stitch, you would be working in your second stitch now, but it's the same idea. We're going to go in and pause, hold the work, and then we're going to find that other end that needs to be taken care of. Here it is. Drape it over the top of our working yarn and complete the stitch. And let's do one more. We go in, we pause, drape the yarn over and complete the stitch. And I'm going to go in now in my fourth stitch and pause, and I'm just going to snug and make sure, tug on these loose ends, make sure everything is at an even tension here in these first three stitches. It looks good. Looks like everything is. So we're just going to keep doing this the same, about roughly as many stitches as we did the first one. This one's not as obvious as a demonstration just because now we are weaving in the same color on top of the same color, whereas before it was really easy to see the color difference when we were weaving in our old color on top of the new color. So sometimes you might find instructions for knitting your ends in like this where people advise you to just take both ends in that very first row and hold them together and twist them over. And that certainly is a way that will catch them as well. Functionally it works. I don't like the extra bulk it creates to have those double strands twisting around with your stitches. I prefer to do them one at a time on subsequent rows. That's just my own personal preference, especially in finer stuff. I don't like the extra bulk that it would create there at the edge of the row. So here we are. We're going to pause one more time and take a look at the wrong side now that we've done that. Voila! It's really nice and tidy and just really easy. And then you're just have nothing left to do at the end except block your piece. So I'm going to give quite a bit of room here. I actually did that with the orange. I left this same length and you can see how much, it's really, really hard to tell. Hopefully it's not too blurry. Here's my end. I actually could have left a little bit more. It really sank back in when it got stretched. So yeah, just leave yourself a little bit. You can always trim these up after you've blocked your piece if you find you left too much, but that's rarely going to be a problem. So I hope you enjoy this video and enjoy the feeling you have at the end of your project when you don't have any ends left to weave in. All right, happy knitting, everybody.